Hi, I'm Ann V. Brady, and I will be reading an excerpt from my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service, illustrated by Eric C. Brady. Mike, Mike decided to go into the Air Force. While Eric was home only for my birthday, he asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I told him that I wanted an RPG computer game. So Eric, Mike, and I went to Walmart to look at computer games. I looked at several and didn't like the graphics of the games. I finally found a game that had good looking graphics, and it looked like it would be fun to play. Eric bought me Guild Wars. When we got home, I entered the code on the box and installed the game on my computer. Eric and Mike went online and bought the codes for the game so they could play with me whenever they came home on leave. We played the game together that day. We were able to talk through our headset microphones in game while playing. Mike left for basic in Texas. We attended his graduation. When our head doctor became the MAO director, I asked about getting a chemical analyzer. We bought one. We bought one that was reasonable. The representative came down to Alabama for a week to teach me how to run the analyzer, do quality control, and troubleshoot the analyzer. One day we went to a fast food joint nearby in Montgomery. He drove us there. Now, at this time, I had stopped dyeing my hair. The cashier gave me a senior citizen's discount on my meal without my asking. I was surprised as I was about 51 years old. The representative looked at me quizzically as he was surprised as I was. I performed hematology samples and chemistry panels for our patients and were paid by their insurance. We eventually got rid of the chemistry analyzer. It wasn't as good a machine as we were told it was. The biggest problem was sometimes the menu of patients and tests would just disappear for no reason after I put in the information. Then it would suddenly pop back up later on. We eventually bought a new hematology machine, and it worked really well. And then we received notice that the machine was discontinued. By this time, the director of MAO had decided she wanted to get rid of the laboratory altogether. I was having less to do in the laboratory and spending more time drawing blood. The neighborhood we worked in was getting worse, and the stores around us were closing. The board of directors started looking for a new place for the clinic, one that was in a safer neighborhood. We saw a wide variety of patients, and we didn't discriminate against anyone. In 2008, my brother Bob Newman called me. He asked if I could take care of Mom and Dad for a while. I told him I wasn't sure, but that I would let him know. I discussed it with Ed, and he agreed to us taking care of them. When I called back to talk to Bob, my mom answered the phone. She told me that Bob was sleeping. I invited my parents to come visit us. My mom said they were staying with Bob as that was where their doctors were. I tried talking her into coming, but she was adamant they were staying in Las Vegas with Bob. Bob had moved there because of his health. He had emphysema and was on oxygen. Later that year, I received a phone call from my birth brother, Bob Pierce. He called me because he had lost his house after his wife Edwina had died. He told me that he was on his way to New Orleans, Louisiana. He was going there to become either a ghost hunter or a psychic. I told him to hold on. I went to talk to Ed and told him about Bob and his plans. I was afraid that Bob would end up being homeless in New Orleans. Ed said we should invite him to live with us. I extended our invitation to Bob for him to come live with us. I handed my cell phone to Ed to give him directions on how to get to Prattville, Alabama. Ed told him of a place on Cobb's Ford Road that he could call us from, and we would meet him and show him how to get to our house. We put Bob in Mike's old bedroom. Bob thought he brought his cat. Bob helped with the gardening by trimming bushes. I learned a lot more about Bob's life as a child. Excuse me. After the doctor received the result, she called me to make an appointment to go over my results. The ultrasound showed that I had a thickening of the gallbladder and that I had gallstones. I was then referred to a gastroenterologist. I saw the gastroenterologist in January 2009. Dr. H was friendly and went over the results of the CAT scan and the ultrasound with me and Ed. I asked him about having my gallbladder removed. I wasn't thinking about cancer. Excuse me. I was worried that something was wrong with my gallbladder, but I didn't know what. He asked me if there was any pain from the gallbladder. I told him no. Dr. H told us that he didn't like to operate unless he really had to. I pushed him on the fact that there was thickening of the gallbladder and I had gallstones. After a few more visits, Dr. H ordered a gallbladder fitness test. I could only do the first part of the test because I had gallstones. I had the test done, and the doctor looked at my test results and said that my gallbladder was fit. I was still worried, especially with all the doctors and nurses at MAO where I worked saying that they couldn't believe the doctor wouldn't remove my gallbladder. Finally, I convinced the doctor to do another CAT scan. He wrote the order in my chart. Waited about 2 months and I finally called to find out when they would request a referral to do the new CAT scan. The nurse called me back, said the doctor hadn't ordered a CAT scan. I told her that she'd better look in the chart because he told me he was going to order another CAT scan. She pulled my chart and discovered to her dismay that he had indeed ordered a CAT scan. She ordered a referral to TRICARE Prime for the CAT scan. I finally got approval and an appointment with the Carmichael Imaging for the CAT scan. A week after my CAT scan, Dr. H called me frantic. He wanted to see me right away. We scheduled an appointment to see him. When Ed and I talked to Dr. H, he told us that the gallbladder had shown up on the CAT scan as hotter than the first CAT scan. He then told us that I could still keep my gallbladder if I wanted to. I told him in no uncertain terms, I want my gallbladder out now, and I want it out now. He finally agreed to operate on me. I had the surgery in June 2009. As I was prepped and waiting for surgery, my doctor came in to talk to Ed and me about the surgery. Dr. H started talking about how he wasn't sure whether I needed the surgery or if it would do any good. Then he and Ed started to argue, and Dr. H threatened not to perform the surgery. I then told both of them that I was having the surgery and having it now. They stopped arguing, shook hands, and apologized. After I came out of surgery, Dr. H came to see me and Ed. He told us that the surgery was a success. And that the gallbladder looked pink and healthy. Dr. H also told us that he was sending the gallbladder to the laboratory for a biopsy. He figured it would take 7 to 10 days to get the results back. About a week and a half later, Dr. H called me to say he needed to see me right away. He transferred me to his receptionist, who scheduled me an appointment with Dr. H in 2 days. When we met with Dr. H, he informed us that the results of the biopsy had come back. I had been in stage 1 gallbladder cancer. They got all the cancer, but some of the cells had started to become undifferentiated. This meant that I would have to undergo low dose chemotherapy and radiation treatments of my abdominal area. This was to ensure that microscopic cancer cells hadn't escaped treatments and spread. Dr. H apologized for not removing my gallbladder sooner. He said that he was basing his conclusion on the fact that 90% of patients with gallstones don't get cancer. We had to get referrals from TRICARE to see an oncologist and start treatment at Montgomery Care Center, MCC. I finally got a referral and was assigned to Dr. D. I had to have a port inserted on the left side of my chest. The port was for the chemical for my chemotherapy to be pumped into my body, and so they could draw blood from the port instead of my veins. A nurse tried to draw blood out of the port and couldn't. They sent me to the radiology department to have an x-ray to make sure the port was properly installed. It was properly installed, but could only deliver the chemotherapy. I had another doctor for the radiation treatments. The first time I saw Dr. D, he told me that Dr. H sent him a note saying that I was lucky that I had listened to him and had my gallbladder taken out. I was stunned at his audacity. I then proceeded to tell Dr. D the true story. I first told Dr. D he lied, and this is what actually happened. I told Dr. D the whole story. After telling my story, Dr. D was aghast. I liked Dr. D. He explained about the treatments and my appointments. I was fitted with a pump that delivered a constant low dose of chemicals, and I had to go to the treatment center on a regular basis for treatment and to refill my chemical pump. I had to go to the treatment center on occasion for IV fluids. I had regular appointments for radiation treatments. When I first started treatments, I could still work. I didn't get sick until much later. During this During this time, the LPGA came to Robert Trent Golf Course in Prattville. Ed and I brought chairs and parked out on the 16th hole to watch the lady golfers. It was great. I walked around some, and we bought shirts, snacks, and drinks. We also walked around the golf course watching golfers tee off at different holes. There were times that Ed couldn't bring me to my appointments, and Bob would take me instead. Around Christmas time, I was no longer working as the treatments were sapping my strength. I started throwing up and couldn't keep food down. I quit smoking during that time as I was too sick. I started drinking Ensure to stay healthy. My dad, Dave Newman, died on New Year's Eve 2009. Jim called to tell me about Dad and that they were cremating him. The doctor said they couldn't understand why I was throwing up. Ed and I figured that the radiation was hitting a small portion of my stomach. Also, when I was receiving IVs, they were giving them to me through the port. I could always feel liquid backing up my throat and into my mouth. It tasted nasty, and I would start throwing up, and I couldn't stop. I had weighed about 145 pounds when I started my treatment. I now weighed about 118 pounds. One day they decided to do an MRI of my brain because they wanted to make sure that I didn't have a tumor. I was upset about that and asked TRICARE for a referral to do it. I got the referral. I was in the treatment center for an IV. I told the nurse I had an appointment for the MRI and asked if we could do the IV after the MRI. She insisted that we had to do the IV and she would stop it so I could get to the MRI and I could come back for the rest of the IV. I was in tears. I was worried that if I had the IV first, I would throw up during the MRI. I explained that to the nurse, but she wouldn't listen. We left to go do the MRI. When we got there, the referral was for a CT scan and not an MRI. They were going to have to resubmit for the appropriate test. I was so stressed and out and upset, Ed was furious. Ed brought me home after that debacle. Nurse called us when we got home, and Ed informed her that we weren't coming back to the treatment center at all. The next morning, the nurse called us and apologized for what she had said to me. She begged for us to come back and to the treatment center to get the IV. We went back, and I told her when I saw her to put the IV in my arm instead of the port. The nurse did as I asked, and I never got sick. After that, when I needed an IV, they used my arm and I stopped throwing up. During that time, my leave at work ran out. I was fortunate that the security guard at MAO let me her leave so I could get healthy, so I could get better. When I finished my treatment, I still had to go back to see Dr. D every 6 months for a CT and a follow up appointment with him. I always had to arrive 30 minutes before my appointment to have blood drawn before each doctor's appointment. As my radiation treatments and chemotherapy stopped, I had other problems. I was diagnosed by my pulmonologist, Dr. E, with a MAC, Mycobacterium avium complex infection. It was an opportunistic bacteria that is an opportunistic bacteria that is found in nature. I was put on a regimen of 3 antibiotics to treat my infection. Both doctors shared CT scan results and other medical information with each other. Dr. E looked at my lungs while Dr. D looked at my abdominal area to see how well I was progressing. We still went up to the lodge and brought Bob with us. We even went to the lodge's governors and senior regent ball. Down below is a picture of us, me, my husband Ed, and Bob at the governor's ball. The first one is Ed, me, and Bob. We're all in our finery. Ed is wearing a blue jacket. I'm wearing a aqua colored evening gown, and Bob has a white jacket on with a black turtleneck underneath. The next picture is of Ed and me, and the last picture is a picture of Bob. One Monday night at the lodge, I was sitting at the bar waiting for dinner. I was talking to a member, Bill. Bill made the following statement to me. I never met a woman as smart as me. I told him that's a mighty small leap. We laughed as I received my dinner and a coke. Ed was one of the cooks in the kitchen that night. After finishing dinner, I went in to play bingo. After bingo, I went back to the social quarters. I was waiting for Ed to finish up so we could go home. Ed came out and told me that Bill complained about me to him. Ed said that Bill told him that I insulted him. I told Ed I don't remember insulting him. Ed said that Bill told him that you need to control your wife or I'll have to do it. Ed said that he told Bill, good luck with trying to control a retired Army staff sergeant. We spent a lot of time with our friends at the lodge, especially on weekends. Our friends were L, D, J, Missy, and Chris. And that is all for right now. And I hope everybody enjoyed my reading. And have a happy Thursday. And we're heading towards the weekend. Have a nice, happy weekend. And please buy my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service on Amazon. It's available as an ebook for the Kindle and as a paperback and 2 different hardcover versions. One with black and white pictures and another one which is bigger, 8.5 by 11, that has pictures in color and black and white. You can find my books by searching for Ann V. Brady on Amazon.com.